dark room for 2.5 years. It was a nightmare. I lost a baby when I was 7 months pregnant from very severe torture, and I almost died. I was lucky.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You have just seen an excerpt of a film by writer and producer Marie Paquim. She is here today to tell a true story in order that some of you out there who might have been or have a potential of being a victim of the human trafficking can learn what are the things that you need to know about people that come into your life. This young lady, who truly is a very brilliant young lady, education-wise, acting-wise, and many other talents that she has, fell for a man that literally destroyed her life. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing her, and please pay complete attention because this young lady has gone through things that none of us ever want to go. So at this time, it's my pleasure to welcome the producer, writer, Marie Paquim. Marie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much.
My pleasure to have you. I've spent some time with you before coming on the show.
Yes.
And I'm truly very sorry about what you had to go through. But in some ways, it's a blessing that people go through hardship to learn about elements of life in order to uplift other human beings that you are trying to do. So let us begin with your life before the horrible events that took place. You have mother and father who are musically oriented.
Absolutely.
And you were born, I believe, either in Portugal or Europe.
I was born in France, Paris.
In France, Paris. Then you went to Portugal to continue your education.
Yes, when I came to Portugal when I was 12.
Okay.
But I was always back and forth between France and Portugal. But I did finish my studies, my master's degree in Paris, Sorbonne.
Okay, take us back to Portugal.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful country. I've been there.
Yeah,
so expand about your time in Portugal. And I know your goals and objective was to go through college and then get your master's degrees in Paris, which you did. But I want to viewing audience to kind of have a better understanding about what took place in Portugal during the time you were there.
I was a normal teenager, having a normal life. My parents are very wealthy, but they taught me, you know, sacrifice and to work hard and discipline, and I'm very grateful for that. They gave me the strength. And I just went through my studies. Of course, I was acting in some time, but my parents, they were very focused on my education, and they thought that I should stop acting and be focused on my studies until I was like 18 or 19 or 20. Then I could make the decision, and I think it was a great decision that my parents they did. My parents are incredible parents, I would say. They gave me everything. They gave me all the love in the world. My parents, they never got divorced. So I grew up, I would say I'm a child of love because my parents, they loved each other unconditionally. And I can say that because I witnessed. And so I came from very strong, traditional, conservative family. They're also very open because you're extremely artistic. I grew up with music, so I was a happy go-go girl. Loved to dance for hours, loved to pretend to be different characters. I was kind of different child from other children. A lot of the children, they loved, you know, play the dolls and, you know, pretending to be mommy and father. Like those the typical games as a child. But for me, it was music. I didn't like dolls. I liked books. I would memorize the entire books, common periods. I would just had a good memory. So then I would pretend to be the characters, and I would put the radio and start dancing for hours. So my mom, she saw that and she said, well, she must be an actress or she must be a dancer. So I grew up with music and acting since I was a child.
And music has a very great influence on young people.
Yes.
It has been proven statistically, young people who grow up with music, learn music, expand further in education. They have a better memory retraining, as you indicated.
That's true.
They are more relaxed, more fun, more joyful.
Yeah.
Their outlook is really more on the bright side.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you expanded on that. I've had the pleasure of meeting your mom, and I can attest to the fact that she's a very lovely lady, and she truly loves you unconditionally because she's been by your side all the time.
Oh yes, absolutely, all the time. She's my rock. She doesn't leave me anywhere. She wants to go with me. She supports me on this project since the beginning. My dad passed away, but I remember he told me his last word, never give up of your dream, never. That's my, promise me, because when I will be not here, because he had a lung cancer, it was a terminal cancer, and he told me, I don't want you to come to Portugal to see me. I want you continue and fight for your dream. You have a mission. So it was beautiful. And telling you, actually, music and dancing, it is my drug. When, you know, I'm a human being, I'm flesh and blood, you know, I'm not a hero, I'm just an artist, I'm a survivor, I'm very proud of it, for who I am. But music, when I'm sad or I have I'm angry, I'll listen to music, and it really heals me. Music and performing arts, or even, you know, writing poetry, saved me.
Now, the viewing audience saw an excerpt of the movie that you're planning to make.
Yes.
They saw you, a very happy young lady, very attractive young lady. Then they saw your face kind of battered. They saw a place you were kind of kept as a slave for several years. So I want to go back to Portugal. Where is it that you first met your future husband? Was it in Portugal or in France?
I met him in France. I was 18 years old when I met him. So we dated for a year. And he told me that he was an exchange American student. He knew to speak, I would say, fluently French. He had an American accent when he was speaking French. I guess it was the accent, I don't know, what attracted me to him, but he was so perfect. He knew how to please me. And it was like my first boyfriend. So I was excited. Yeah, you know, he treated me like a princess, like a queen. And for a year, I never had any suspicion that what type of person he would be when I came to the United States. And he knew how to seduce me, I guess. He knew how to manipulate me. You know, he would say the words that I wanted to hear. You know, when you're 19, it's very easy for you to get influenced by others.
Did you get married in France, or you got married in the United States?
In the United States.
I see. And where did you move to when you came from France?
From France, I came... First, I spent some time with my parents. My parents, they were totally against. They didn't want me to go to the United States with him. My father actually told me, you know, I have something wrong with this guy. He's too perfect. But obviously, I didn't listen to my parents. I'm the typical teenager who knows everything. Right. You know, I'm 19. I have a master's degree. I know more than you do. I speak 4 languages. Big deal. No, you know, love is blind. So obviously, I went my parents' will, and I decided to come with them. I didn't know anybody here in the United States. I didn't know to speak English when I came to the United States because I chose Latin. I studied Latin for 8 years. Right. I wanted to be different. I never thought to come to the United States. It was not in my mind. It was not even on my dreams. If it's destiny, I don't know, but I am here, obviously. And so when I came to the United States, after the first week I was with him, we got married, and the day of my honeymoon, that's when the nightmare started.
Okay, where did you get married? What city?
Silver Lake.
Silver Lake?
Yes.
California here?
Yeah.
I see, okay. Now, he lived here all the time, basically, or did you guys move to different places?
No, we were just his house. He had the big house in Silver Lake. He had like a kind of a room close to his garage, like almost like a basement.
Okay, let me take you step by step, because this is very important, because as
Absolutely.
I indicated to you during my interview with you, I work with human rights organizations.
Absolutely.
And I'm always keen to the fact of having a young lady such as yourself that went through those horrible process, so the viewing audience can really learn what are the steps they need to follow with God's blessing, so things like that never happens to them. Now, when you got married, did you meet his parents at the same time, I presume?
No, I didn't.
So you guys eloped,
it
basically?
It was just some friends. It's very strange friends. But I was so happy on that day. I had my white dress.
Okay.
It's a dream of every girl, isn't it? You know, you marry with your prince.
Okay.
That's what I thought in that time. I was always living in a world of imagination, and not in a world of reality.
Okay. And what happened when you got married? You indicated that's when the
I can tell you, it's very difficult. It's difficult to express with words, but one thing I can tell you, I remember our honeymoon. He made a promise actually to travel the world for that, maybe like for a month, And then he brought me to this room. You know, he said it was like a surprise. I was all dressed with my beautiful white dress. I had my puppy with me. And when I entered inside of the room, I realized that, okay, there's no windows. But I thought maybe he had some fantasy in his mind. I don't know,
Right,
you know.
right.
I was just following his steps, I guess. And he took the dog from my hands. He asked me to sit down in the bed, which I did. In the beginning, actually, he was like playing with the dog, and suddenly he just took by the neck of the dog, and he took a knife, and he opened the stomach of the dog. And I freaked out when I saw that, and then he put everything on top of me, everything that was coming out from the dog. He came to my head, and he said to me, I will never forget those words, if you don't do what I'm asking you to do, from now on, that's what's going to happen to you, like this stupid, disgusting puppy. I freaked out. It was not the same man. He changed like black and white. It's incredible how you can be so perfect for a year, and suddenly you switch like this. He was like a devil.
And
From an angel became a devil.
What happened after that?
After that, he kept me for 2.5 years in a dark room. In the beginning, I wanted to fight. I was screaming, I was crying, I did whatever, you know. A lot of screaming, but he gave me Xanax, Valium, any kind of drugs that could, you know, make me silent. And with experience, obviously, after being beat up and so much torture, like burning my feet with cigarettes, my God, at a point my feet did have no skin, and I have to go to the restroom on my knees or on my butt, but my body would have full of bruises. It was horrible.
Would he lock you into the room and leave all day long, or would he come in to bring you food?
No, rarely. He will bring me food maybe like once a week, and a glass of water maybe twice a week. And I realized that if I want to really to, you know, hunger and thirst is the most painful thing in the world. If people, they knew, you know, when you don't eat for 2 days, you have a bad humor.
Absolutely.
But imagine when you spend a week without food. I mean, you started like, you know, I remember sometimes I would look on the ground and see if I would see nothing I could eat. I would start eating dust.
Of course.
You know, I was such in despair. I lost hope. I had full of guilty inside of me. It was a pain that is difficult to express with words. It's easier to show it. I could show it, but it's hard to express it with words.
And so how did it come out for you to basically escape or be saved? Can you expand on that?
Well, you know, for me to really escape, it was impossible. I didn't have a window, and the door was always closed. But I was lucky one day. His parents, once in a while, they would come, and they realized that I was very skinny. You know, I was like, I'm already a very skinny girl, but in that time I was like skin and bone. But obviously, I got pregnant. The body starts changing. Of course, the hunger and the thirst, it was even higher because, you know, because you have a baby inside of you. It gave me the strength to survive because I could talk with someone. So someone that is an artist, has been growing with music, socializing with people, using to trust everybody, you know, and suddenly it's just living in the darkness. It's very difficult. So I'll be screaming to the walls. I even start fighting with God. I had fights with God, saying, why me? Why this happened to me? What I've done to deserve this? I would go against the walls with my head. I would scream for hours. And I got a point then when he was not home, that's when I would do all the screaming. I would scream to the point I would lose my voice.
He was still in a room and he was screaming?
Yes, and I would cry as much as I could to the point I could not even open my eyes. Because when I knew he would come, I would be dead. Because I didn't want to feel pain.
When did you have the baby?
Okay, so when I was 5 months, the parents, they came home. The father came to me and he saw bruises in my arm. I mean, he would give me a nice dress or something, you know, to cover up. But I guess I was very distracted that day. And the bruises, thank God I was distracted. He saw bruises in my arm and he was asking me, talking to me in English, and I would say, no English, no English. no speak English.
I see.
That was what I would say. And maybe the father had always a better relationship with his son since he was a kid. I did find out that later. And but he talked with his son. They had a huge argument. Then the next day, that's when the human trafficking comes in. The next day, he forced me to work in a restaurant with his best friend. His best friend owned a restaurant somewhere in San Fernando or Studio City. I know it was like North Hollywood. And of course, I never served in my entire life. My English, I was learning English because I had a little book, tiny little book, that it was actually on my mattress. He didn't know, but it was half English and half Portuguese. So I taught myself English, not the pronunciation, but at least to be able to express, even probably with not the right pronunciation. But then when I was in a restaurant for the first time, for me it was a blessing, even though I was working for free, and we were treated like very badly. We would not get the tips. I saw the other people, different nationalities from all over the world. Some of them, they actually were sleeping on the basement of the kitchen, like in the back of the restaurant. He freaked me out, but I didn't know what it was. I have no clue. I didn't know what it was, human trafficking. And everybody was very silent. So everybody was afraid. It was something that I saw and I observed. And one day, I have this gentleman, very tall, very good looking. I will never forget. He just came inside. He was very different from everybody that I saw. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and he actually requested my presence. Of course, I didn't know to speak very well English. I would try because I would bring the menu. And he starts asking me questions in English, but I didn't know how to speak, you know, but I mixed French and Spanish or English. Then he said, he looked at me, he's like, well, he started speaking in French with me. I'm like, wait a minute, how do you know that I'm French? Well, you have a French accent when you try to speak English. And 4 days later, I find out that he was an FBI.
FBI, right. For the sake of time, I know we are limited, and your story is so fascinating. That's why I'm so glad you're making a movie. And hopefully millions of people will go and see this successful movie, which I'm sure will become a great movie. Now, when you met this FBI, he already was somehow investigating the trafficking that was taking place in the restaurant, and also your husband. Now, bring us up to date as to how did the FBI get involved by arresting your husband, if you'd be so kind.
Absolutely. Well, they were tracing him for a very long time because in Europe, he actually killed 12 girls and chopped them in pieces. For a very long time, they've been looking for him, but also because he was involved with human trafficking. I didn't know anything.
I see.
I just remember, I have an episode actually, when I was in my room, he brought a foot, and he ate the foot in front of me. So it freaked me out. I will never forget that, but I didn't understand. I thought, no, this has to be a nightmare. It cannot be real. Maybe it's not a real foot. Maybe he's pretending. Maybe it's a cake or something. It just, it was so unreal for me. But later on, they found out 2 more bodies. It was in the basement of the kitchen. So, because they were looking for him, but also someone from my family, the Portuguese distributor, he knows my mom very well and my family and my career, and he knew already Daniel the FBI for some time, and he asked him if he could look for me, and if there was a connection. I don't know. They know more than I did.
I understand.
But looking for him, it was the way to find me.
I see.
So that's why I think I was blessed and very lucky. Probably I could be still being a slave now if he was not a psychopath that the FBI have been looking for the last 10 years or more.
And what happened to your ex-husband, or the nutso, as I call him?
He has no name for me. He's a monster. But he's already dead.
I see, okay. And what happened to your, was it a girl or a boy that you had?
It was a boy.
I see. Of course, you did not keep the child, right? Or you could not?
No, because I was tortured.
I understand.
And when I fight against the monster. The day that I was rescued, I took a chair. I was fighting for my life, and I wanted to be free. I was so desperate. I was tired to wait. And I know the FBI there said, well, we have to wait to get all the evidences. I lost patience.
I'm sorry to bring that up.
But it's okay. And he just kicked my belly. And obviously I lost the baby. I was 7 months and a half pregnant.
Now, I know you are really devoted your life to educated people, not only for human trafficking, but also about human rights.
Absolutely.
What would you tell some of the young ladies who are watching today as far as steps they should follow through when they meet someone for the first time. Not to fall in love immediately, not to be swept off their feet, and what do they need to know?
You know, to fall in love quickly is difficult to say because it's not really your mind. Make the choice is your heart. But I think you cannot trust people right away. You need to know their background, what they do, who are their family, meet them, you know, live with. It's difficult to say. It's so it's, you know.
Well, your point is very valid because basically...
Don't talk to strangers that you don't know.
Right.
I would say that probably I would date someone that he was referred by a friend or someone that I know or I know a little bit about his background. Totally a stranger, it takes a little time.
Absolutely.
It takes a little time. I would, because I would say one of my biggest flaws, and that flaw comes from my, from the trauma that I went through, which is to trust people. I always give the benefit of the doubt. I am working really hard on that. But to trust people for me is very difficult. So I have a tendency to judge people by their actions, not by their words. So I think girls, they should pay attention to their actions instead to listen to their words. You know, to say the word "I love you" means anything if there's nothing inside. So it's to be careful. And I think today there's a lot of tools to find out what it is human trafficking. And that's why I'm making the movie. That's why I'm playing myself in the film called Land of Free Except for Me. It's co-wrote by me and my business partner, Peter Ben-Lois, is my co-writer. And producing it. We have another 2 producers on the project. We're very happy. We got the first 200K, the first money, which is very important for us. We have already, and thank you for, we have a US theatrical distribution, which is a big deal for us. We have also a European distribution via my Portuguese distributor, Gil Santos.
I see.
But this film, why I'm making this film, it's ironic. I would say that he's saving me. I feel free, but also I wanted to inform people. And I think the way to fight against human trafficking today, it's via information and knowledge and how to get informed and how to have the knowledge. I believe a film, images has more power than words. And putting myself and playing myself again and going through the experience that I went through, and I want to do that because I'm freeing myself also from my demons, but also I want people, the audience, to feel what I went through. And I want young people to understand not to make the same mistake as I did. I didn't listen to my parents when I was supposed to listen to them. And there's something very important. How it's filmed is not just because for me, it's about achievement. Obviously, I'm healed. But how I healed? Because I have wonderful parents that supported me. I have wonderful people, like my ex-boyfriend. He's an FBI, supported me on my journey. And I decided to study and do my doctorate and continue, not look back, learn with my mistakes from the past, gain wisdom and experience, and look at it like a river, flow like a river, never look back, always in front is what I did. I decided to be like a river and be positive and be strong and be an inspiration for others. I have to be honest, for a very long time I did hide my past because I was embarrassed. Because people, they would say, well, you're so educated, how something like that could happen to you? And I said, well, when you fell in love, do you fall in love with your mind or you do fall in love with your heart?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are judgmental, do not know really what it is, but especially when someone at your age takes your dog and tear it apart with a knife, the fear that you go through, it's unimaginable. And a lot of people will say, why didn't you escape? Well, again, the fear that is put into you is held you like a prisoner. And there are millions of human trafficking taking place in this country and throughout the world every single day. And quite a people do not realize, and the same thing you brought up, to know who you're talking to, get to know about them, the background. Even today on internet in the United States, a lot of young ladies, even young men, are deceived by people who are praying to pounce on them. And I'm truly glad that you came on the show today to expand on your pain and sorrows of the past. And I'm also glad that you indicated you do leave the past behind if you can. I know the pains and suffering you went through will be part of you for the rest of your life, but at least you have overcome that, and I'm very proud of you for what you are trying to do through this film. And mention the name of the film once again, please.
Land of the Free.
Land of the Free.
Except for Me.
Except for Me. That is really a wonderful title, because this is exactly what we're talking about. You want to live in a world or a land that's free, except for me, because at that moment you were not free.
I was not free.
Right. So again, it's a great blessing, and I'm sure there was an angel looking over his shoulder somehow.
You know, it was interesting because, yes, there was an angel. There was an angel. I believe in that. I think everything that happened to me, it was for a reason, and bad things, they happen to you for a reason, and definitely I'm stronger than before. And I just, being an artist, I think, is to teach people to be better and never forget about love, about family, about honor, friendship, integrity, honesty, values that today they don't exist. We know media today, they glorify too much bad. Oh, bad, it's cool to be bad. No, it's not cool. So we know we glorify too much violence. Yes, there is violence in my film, but there is a purpose for that. It's really touched the heart of people. And talking about human rights.
Yeah. Mary, we're running short of time. I really want to, first of all, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And I'm truly sorry for what you went through, but as you indicated, from pain, you turn into happiness.
Absolutely.
And hopefully your movie, ladies and gentlemen, that Mary is going to be producing and putting on Land of Free, Not For Me, you'll be seen on screens in the future, and please look for that. And what you learned from Mary today, if you have especially daughters, make sure you teach them values, you teach them understanding of human relations, you teach them not to fall for something, heal over without finding out who the person is, because quite often this is exactly what happens when someone's heart takes over their mind. And it's kind of a sad story that you've heard from Mary, but it's a positive ending. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I wish you all a pleasant day.
Thank you.